experience. St Helens are the Women's Super League champions. The most amazing day for the Leeds Rhinos. Warrington dominating. Great try for the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home. It's Vincent! It's a poor lad. He's got sensational try. 3 in a row, the Saints. The three-peat is achieved. An 8th grand final win for the Red Devils.
Well, good evening. Welcome back to The Last Tackle. It's a brand new season and we've got a brand new home here on the Sportsman. Rugby League is back. Delighted to be joined by two men who know a thing or two about it. Kevin Brown, former England international, of course, and Andrew Henderson, former Scotland international. And Hendo, I'll start with you. Super League back with a bang. Rugby League back. How good?
Fantastic. I think leading into the season, there's been a real air of excitement about the competition. I think, notably the fact that we get crowds back now. It's almost like the rebirth of the game, so to speak, a new era for Super League and Rugby League, and having all the fans now back in the stadiums and those restrictions eased slightly. I think that's added to the excitement, as well as all the great coverage and exposure now that we're getting from numerous media outlets. I think it's bringing more energy and attention to the game. So and like you said, round one certainly did not disappoint us.
Kevin, your first pre-season as a retired man, first start of the season in retirement. How are you finding life as a spectator?
I'm enjoying it, especially watching the very first game, which was Saints and Catalans after the opening kick-off, and there was fighting. I was glad I was nowhere near that, especially that Dylan Napa challenge as well that got him in a bit of hot water. But just going to every game as a fan is completely different as opposed to watching it and trying to work out little weaknesses. You're watching it for fun, and it has been fun. It's been a really entertaining first round.
Yeah, it was a brilliant round one in the Betfred Super League. We'll quickly recap on that action. It started off, of course, as Kev's alluded to, St Helens 28, Catalans 8, a rematch of the grand final, but Hendo Saints pretty dominant throughout, weren't they?
I thought they were. I thought they weathered that early storm from Catalans. I think it was pretty clear Catalans really came out with a mentality of trying to be very physical and try and intimidate and really try and sort of bully the opposition. But I thought Saints withstood that, and I just thought they were very clinical in some of their execution on the night as well. I thought it was a fairly comprehensive performance on the night for St Helens, and a great start for them.
And then Friday, Hull KR 10, Wigan 24. A lot of question marks going into this one. We didn't know how either side were going to go, contrasting years last year. But Kev, you've picked your play of the week from this game. Wigan looked very, very good. And for all of their problems scoring points last season, there was none of that on Friday night, was there?
No, and as we see now on the clip, the exciting play that we saw and the speed by Jay Field here to not only expose the defence. I think one thing to mention is the scrums, being back. I think some players will get caught out with that a little bit, because there's some professional players who have never been packed down in a scrum because of the COVID rules. So it's great to see, Matty P, and I'm sure Lee Breer's had a little stamp on that as well. But I think Wigan looked a much more together group this year. I think they relied on Jackson Hastings a lot. So, no, it was a fantastic start for them, but disappointing for OKR.
If I'm being slightly picky about Wigan, and I think I am, a lot of their tries came long distance like that or from kick errors from Hull KR. We didn't see so much of their attacking structure in red ball attacking play. There's still a few question marks around that, isn't there?
Maybe so. I think what you got was a committed group, and I watched them in the pre-season as well. They went to Warrington in Steph Ratchford's testimonial game, and Kai Pearce-Paul, I think, is going to be a standout this year. What he's doing, he's playing centre. He's a back rower, but he's been fantastic so far. So, I agree a little bit. I don't think we've seen the best of Wigan, but definitely early signs and some green shoots of some great attacking style.
And then Castleford 16, Salford 26. Hendo, two new coaches in new jobs. We learnt a lot, I think. Salford with a fantastic win, and Mark Sneed's boot playing a big part in that. What a signing he looks like he might be for them.
Yeah, look, I think Mark Sneed was very pivotal in that performance for Salford. And I think certainly in these earlier rounds when the conditions are a bit greasy and a little bit heavier, the kicking game is so vitally important. And I thought, Mark Sneed on that night, certainly kicked the Castleford side to death. And again, it was an exciting game because it was such a build-up to that game. 10,500 fans that sold that ground out there at Castleford. The new era under Lee Radford, there was plenty of buzz and excitement around the town of Castleford, but Salford had other ideas. And I thought Salford were very, very good on the night. I thought they were executed some really good play. I thought there was some nice attacking play from them on the night, and I thought Mark Sneed was outstanding. I thought he really, really guided them well.
Well, Saturday lunchtime, we were all very excited about Rugby League on Channel 4. Boy, did it produce. It had everything. Red cards, length of the field tries. It was a 2-point game. Kevin, what a fantastic first week for Channel 4's Rugby League coverage.
If you could write a script for the first game, that's it. You've got two of the best, well-supported sides playing against each other, drama on the field. And I think probably after the game, Leeds will be the happier. I know that sounds a bit crazy, they lost the game, but to go down to 12 men, so soon in the game, against such a quality side, I was a little bit disappointed with Warrington. I was expecting some flamboyant style, the way Castleford did it under Darryl Powell. Maybe that's a little bit too harsh because I'm sure it takes time, and he referenced the fact after the game that the conditions weren't suiting to that style. But Leeds were fantastic. I think you had 13 players and Blake Austin into that side. They could be contenders this year.
Yeah, Hendo, you'll know Blake very well, of course. I think Richard Agar will be happy with the performance, obviously not the result, but they've still got that extra piece of the puzzle to add, haven't they, when they get Blake back this week?
Yeah, look, and if Blake's in the right frame of mind, he's a quality player. I mean, he adds a different attacking threat and a different dimension there for that side. But I have to echo what Kevin said there. I thought Leeds on the day showed such determination, such grit, such endeavour. Will feel a little bit hard done to have lost the game in that fashion, but they can take so many positives from that performance. They were really, really good value to be down to 12 men for so long of the game. Like you said, Warrington is early days, and again, I think we've got to remember that it's still early days and teams are betting in and will come to the fore as the weeks grow on, but certainly very, very encouraging signs for the Leeds Rhinos early doors.
And then Saturday night, Toulouse 14, Huddersfield 42, in what was, by the way, one of 8 games available to watch or stream across the TV online. Just a fantastic weekend for the sport. Kev, Toulouse will be disappointed. Huddersfield very pleased, obviously, to get off with a win. What did we learn about them, though?
Well, I'll speak about Toulouse first. I'm a little bit disappointed, really. Lee came in last year and they should have beat Wigan. They were really close in the first games and they run out a little bit of steam towards the back end. And you could sort of say Toronto with the year before, but for me, there's real worrying signs there. For the first game at home, getting beaten and beaten convincingly. I didn't think Huddersfield had to do too much. I thought Tui Lolohea stood up and played well. Chris Hill had a good game, so the new signings, really contributed. But worrying signs for Toulouse for me. If that's the best they can produce on the special day, on the first day, I'm worried where they'll be if they don't recruit in 8 weeks, 12 weeks' time.
At Huddersfield, and Ian Watson obviously will be very happy to go over to France and come back with 2 points. They've got a lot of improvement on last season, but also on the weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think Ian Watson will just be pleased to get off to a winning start. I think there's no doubts about it. Huddersfield, probably alongside Hull FC, are probably the 2 clubs that there's an expectation that they have to show signs of improvement this season. So I think he'll be pleased that he's been able to go over there and get the job done, because that potentially could have been a banana skin. New side promoted, plenty of energy and excitement build up to that game. I think it's important to note as well with Toulouse missing 2 of their pivotal players in Mark Corella and John O'Ford for that game too. That's got to have an impact on the side, and it certainly was encouraging signs that they got off to a good early start. But Huddersfield, as you said, as the game grew on, they managed the game better and they found a way to come through and get the result. But I think for Ian Watson, he'll just be pleased to get that result, that monkey off the back, and hopefully he can grow and build on that performance moving forward.
Well, rounding the weekend off, Wakefield 12, Hull FC 16, and it doesn't sound like the prettiest of affairs, certainly when you look at the score, but at Hull FC, ultimately 2 points on the board, Hendo, job done.
Yeah, job done, and let's note the fact that they were missing a number of players as well, Hull FC, on the weekend. And again, it's a tough place to go. You know, Wakefield under a new coach now and Willie poaching would have been having his side ready to go at home, fired up for that one. And that again could have been a tricky game for Hull FC. But they found a way. Again, there was some controversy in that game with Jake Connor getting sent off, etc. So they were down to 12 men there as well for a period of that game. And I think for Brett Hodgson, he'll be pleased with the fact that he probably had an understrength side, and they found a way to grind out a win in what was always a tricky place to go. Certainly this stage of the season where the pitch is not at its best, heavy, boggy, you know what I mean, tough conditions and tough place to go. So he'll be very, very pleased to get off to a good start there.
Well, as we touched on there, 4 clubs played games under a new coach this weekend, and one of those being Salford under Paul Rowley. That's not all that's new at the AJ Bell, of course, and we sat down with their new signing, Brodie Croft, before the season got underway. Brodie, I guess, welcome to the Betfred Super League. A big shift in your career for you, obviously moving over here away from the NRL into the Betfred Super League. Just what kind of inspired that change for you and brought that about?
My manager brought it up probably midway through last year, just the opportunity of coming over here. I still did have 1 year left on my contract at Brisbane, but things weren't really going in the direction that I wanted them to go. And I really just wanted a fresh start, really. And the opportunity arose here at Salford, and talking with the coaching staff here and the direction that they want this club to go, and the belief that they have in the squad that they have here. Probably that was probably a major discussion point there.
And probably a frustrating year, fair to say, for Salford on the field last year, but it must feel like it's a club that can punch above its weight and could achieve those kind of heights again.
Oh, for sure. That's something that we spoke about before coming over here, and now being a part of the boys and training with them and that, and just getting little conversations here and there about the boys that have played in those games. They're just itching to win that silverware, really. I've got no doubt that this year we can really have a really good season.
And obviously, playing in the halves, a lot of things will come through your hands and your brain. Do you feel like there's a different style of football that you're going to need to adjust to from obviously the NRL to Super League?
Yeah, I've spoken to, particularly on the spine, I'm really enjoying talking to Ryan Brealey and Mark Schneid, really experienced players, and they just love talking footy, so I love talking footy as well, so it makes a good combination there. And I've been asking them like what it's like and what the defensive systems are like over here and how they like to exploit that in attack. And I feel like the structures and systems that we have in place here at Salford, through Rolls, the coach, he loves his attack, and so hopefully it brings the best out of my game. And I really love attacking, I love taking the line on. So yeah, hopefully we can see a lot of that this season.
We've just watched you finish training in gale force winds here. Are there any points where you've looked at the weather and thought, oh, maybe I should have stayed in Brisbane?
Yeah, you can't lie. Yeah, probably have a couple of times. But nah, I've been embracing it. Before I left, I didn't leave with any shirts or shorts. I just packed all my big jumpers and track pants. But even then, I didn't really have any in Australia because you don't get that sort of weather. But yeah, I've been embracing the weather. I knew it was going to be cold, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's something different. I'm looking forward to more sunshine when it comes to summer. And the boys just keep telling me just be grateful for the good days you get because you don't know when the next is going to be.
Yeah, Brodie Croft there, Salford Red Devils, a new signing. They got off to a winning start, of course, at the weekend. And Kevin, you occupied one of the Salford halfback jerseys up until last season. Do you feel good about what they're building there?
Yeah, everything that's coming out of the place is positive. I think Paul Rowley, I know him personally, I worked with him for a couple of years, and attacking wise he's fantastic, and how physical he gets his pack is frightening as well. So I think, you know, the first game they'll be really happy. I think Mark Sneed and Brodie Croft especially, but you know, they were missing a few as well. Callum Watkins is to come back, Dan Sanderson pulled out in the warm-up, so you add them into that already frightening looking back line. It could be you know, a good season for Salford.
There was also Betfred Challenge Cup action aplenty at the weekend, and Hendo, you were in action for us here on the Sportsman. Rochdale Hornets overcoming an awkward Lock Lane side, and that's what the Challenge Cup at this stage is all about, isn't it? Those community sides having a real good crack.
Absolutely, Lewis. I thought it was a fantastic occasion for Lock Lane, the fact that they progressed to this stage of the competition. They had, I think, I think they sold about 1,000 tickets for the game, so they're plenty in the corporate
Look
hospitality
at that
section.
as well. Fooey,
There it
boy,
is. There it is.
Not an easy man to do that.
I'll tell you
to,
something.
is he?
It took my breath away, that collision. I actually said it in the call at the time. I'm actually breathless, because it took it away from me. It was a great shot there from Craig Maskell, the hooker for Loch Lane. But going back to your original point there, Lewis, yeah, it was a fantastic occasion for Loch Lane. They had, I think, around about 1,000 people there at the game, which was great. And the big thing is when you get these community clubs getting through to this stage of the competition and getting the opportunity to have a professional club and host a professional club, it's great for that local community because they can really, expose themselves into that. And then having the exposure from the Sportsman and other media outlets, giving them that attention as well, hopefully it'll encourage some of those local kids to maybe come down to their local club in Loch Lane and get involved in rugby league. So it's only a great thing, not only from a financial point of view for the club to generate much needed funds on the day, but also the potential exposure within the community, which can encourage future stars of our game to take part.
Yeah, and we've got plenty more live rugby league on the Sportsman coming your way. We've got 20 games across the season, and our next one, a week on Sunday, we've got the York City Knights against Newcastle in the Betfred Challenge Cup, and you're both involved with Premier Sports this year in their championship coverage. Kev, you've done the first few games, and a fantastic division, some great clubs in there, and York and Newcastle, two clubs very much on the rise.
Oh, 100% agree with you. The talent that's around that championship and the investment that the owners have put in, I think they're all trying to get up into Super League this year. So two of the teams that you've mentioned there in York and Newcastle have got some fantastic players. They've got great coaches. Pauly's there, one of the biggest men I've ever seen in my life at York. And I spent a little bit of time at Newcastle in the off-season and I did a couple of sessions with them. So I know how good they are too. So I'm not sure who wins that game, and I'm sure it'll be a fantastic watch.
Well, that is a week on Sunday, but in the meantime, there's plenty more rugby league content for you to get stuck into on The Sportsman.
Don't miss a thing from the new home of Rugby League online.
Follow The Sportsman on social media
and follow their YouTube channel for exclusive content.
Yeah, we're very excited about what we've got to come this year on the new home of Rugby League Online here at The Sportsman. And let's jump then right into this week's Betfred Super League action. It starts on Thursday night, Warrington versus Castleford. Hendo, I'll come to you. Obviously, two teams you know a fair thing about.
Yep.
Where'd you go with this one in terms of a result?
Oh, it's a tough one really, because there's going to be slightly different motivations. Obviously, Warrington, I think, will probably be a little bit disappointed, as Daryl Powell alluded to after his game against Leeds, that there's probably a lot of areas of much needed improvement in a number of departments within the team. So he'll be looking for a positive performance this week. But on the flip side, you've got the Castleford Tigers, who are licking their wounds after a disappointing performance against the Salford Red Devils. So I think there's motivation for both sides. I think personally, at home, I think Warrington will have a little bit too much on the night. However, I think they're going to be coming up a very highly motivated Castleford side, which could prove a tricky fixture. It's going to make an interesting contest, and I think also probably the drama as well around Daryl Powell, ex-club, now at Warrington. There's going to be that sort of dynamic as well to take into contention. So it makes for an exciting fixture, but I think Warrington will just edge it.
Kev?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Daryl Powell scenario is an awkward one for Daryl. I know when we played against Ian Watson's side, we knew everything that Ian Watson had want from his team, and I'm sure them Castleford lads, they've spent a lot of time with Daryl and they'll know inside out what he's going to do to them and what he's going to try and expose them. So it could be a difficult one, and I agree. I think Warrington are too good, too talented at home for Castleford, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Lee Radford get his first win.
Friday night, I'm really excited about this one after the weekend. Wigan Warriors versus Leeds Rhinos, Kevin. Two teams that had Wigan obviously came out on top. Leeds had a real good crack against Warrington. All the makings of a great game.
Definitely. It's probably the first time in 5 or 6 years that both sets of fans have been really happy with what they've produced and going into the game confident. You can't say that for a long time, and I think what Wigan have done, we spoke about, how they look together as a group, their attacking style. And Leeds Rhinos, they lost at the weekend, but they came out with a moral victory, playing fantastically well, with 12 men. So I think both teams will be expecting to win. Both fans will be expecting to win. And it's got all the makings of a classic.
And then Saturday lunchtime, back on Channel 4, of course, Hendo Hull FC with a tough assignment against St Helens.
Yeah, it is going to be a tough assignment. I think from watching St Helens last week, they've not lost any of their mojo, have they, Kev? You know what I mean? They are still producing some quality rugby league, and I think Hull has still obviously got a couple of guys missing with injuries, etc. And they are at home, which is obviously favourable for them. But I do think St Helens will be too strong.
We mentioned before we came on air, Kev, we were talking about this. St Helens just seem to keep reinventing themselves. Every time they lose a key player, Lachlan Coote, for example, they never seem to weaken.
I don't know how they do it. Well, they do. They've got a great structure, they've got a great academy, and they're doing things right. But I was expecting the kicking game especially to be affected by Lachlan Coote, but Lewis Dodd's come in there and took over. You've got the running game by Wellesby, and the pack just seems to get more aggressive under Christian Wolf every time they play. Alex Walmsley's doing 35 minutes like a bull. So, no, I can't see... I feel sorry for Hull that they're coming up against St Helens so soon without some key players. Obviously, Jake Connor's banned, so tough ask.
And then Huddersfield versus Hull KR on Saturday as well. This is quite an evenly matched game, I think.
Yeah, and Hull KR will feel a little bit of pressure, probably from what they did last year. Mikey Lewis and Jordan Abdul pulling the strings and turning over a fantastic Warrington side in the playoffs. So they got convincingly beaten at home. So they'll need to come up against Huddersfield and be better this week. Huddersfield riding high after winning to lose. They'll expect to win. I think Will Price may play this week. You've got Michael Lawrence and Ollie Roberts, a few more to add. So it's going to be another tough game for Hull KR, I feel.
And then Catalans versus Wakefield on TV, that game with the new French broadcast deal. More fantastic news for the sport. Both teams reeling from defeats. Hendo, Catalans will be looking to put it right early and prove that they are again title contenders.
Yeah, I think so, and I think they have a duty to their home fans to produce a performance on the weekend. I think they'll be disappointed with the outcome of that St Helens game and the nature that it went for them in terms of players being sent off and now as a result of being suspended within the next few rounds. So I think they have a duty to deliver a performance this week at home. There will be an expectation that they will get a result. Wakefield go there with not a lot of pressure on them, really. I don't think anybody's going to expect them to go to Catalan and get a result, especially off the back of losing to Hull FC at home last week. So the pressure is on Catalan, and it's just going to be how they manage that pressure that's on them in that game. But I do feel that even with a couple of those players that are going to be missing for Catalans, that they still will have enough at home to overcome a very determined Wakefield side.
And then closing out round 2, Kev, Salford versus Toulouse. Salford obviously flying high after that win against Cass. Toulouse will be desperate to make a statement to show that they are contenders this year and can stay up.
Yeah, it's important they go there and compete, even if they don't win the game. I think the capitulation that they showed at home last week was the really disappointing factor. I think if they go there and compete and get right as far into the game as they can with a chance of winning, then it'll be a good sign. I think Salford will be too strong for him. I think we mentioned the Paul Rowley factor, Brodie Croft and Mark Sneed. I think they'll pull the strings, and attacking wise, I just think they'll expose.
I think as well the key for Salford too is that they don't get ahead of themselves slightly. They had a really good performance, and that's going to be the key for Salford this year, is that level of consistency in performance. They've delivered a great performance in that opening round at Castleford. They've just got to make sure they've got those players in the right frame of mind, that they're not looking at, it's Toulouse, they got well beat at home by Henderson, we should be fine. They've got to make sure they've got a real professional mindset going into that game, because it could potentially be a banana skin if they're not in the right mentality.
Yeah, round 2 looks good, doesn't it? It's a very, very exciting start to the Betfred Super League. A slight sense of deja vu about this, but we are, of course, at the beginning of a World Cup year, fingers crossed. And tonight at 7, we are being taken inside all 3 England camps on the RFL website and their YouTube page.
Look, speaking to you before we filmed this, I just couldn't believe your story about the delay in the World Cup and what that meant for you. So just give us that story.
So I plan to quit my job and just train full time, because I work in a school for working with SEN kids with ADHD and autism. So after as soon as the school year finished in July, I was like, right, I'm training full time for this World Cup.
So you handed your notice in?
Yeah, I handed the notice in, everything.
Right. How quickly did you try and get that back?
As soon as the announcement was made, I phoned straight to the boss. Just like, can I get my job back, please? And luckily she was like, yeah, it's fine. You can get back. So I'm quite grateful for that.
Yeah, so that full feature will be available to watch from 7 p.m. tonight on the RFL YouTube channel and the Our League website. World Cups are very, very exciting, gents. You've got a feel for Tom there, handing his notice in weeks before it was postponed this year.
Oh God, yeah, I think he's probably suffered the most out of everyone. But I think we were all really disappointed when Australia and New Zealand ultimately pulled the pin on the competition. But I'm really happy that it's been postponed and we get to have a full competition this year with all the big hitters in it. And with the exposure that we've got this year, what we've mentioned, all the different broadcasters, it's building really nicely to the pinnacle of the World Cup at the end of the year.
Hendo, I was on the ticket page the other day just scrolling through, and it is only then really that you notice that it's just endless international rugby league for about 5 weeks. It's, for people like me who love the game, and you guys who love the game, what an exciting time that will be at the end of this year. Yeah,
absolutely, and I think with having the extra year too, it's given us more time to prepare, more time to build it up, more time to get the game and the international fixtures exposed into different areas within the country. So really, there should be no excuses for not being a successful World Cup campaign. And I think even seeing Tom Halliwell there, the level of commitment, that story there for me highlights how much it means to these England players that they want to be successful, whether it's wheelchair, women's or men's, they want to be successful and bring a trophy home for the home nation. So I thought credit there to that young lad that willing to give up his job to try and commit to training full time to give himself the best opportunity to represent England at the best he could be. I think it's fantastic.
Kevin, I hate to bring this up, but you were part of that England team, of course, that were an ankle tap away from winning the World Cup 5 years ago. What do England need to do over the next 10 months or so to get themselves in a position to win it this time around? Oh, well, we need a bit of luck. Initially, we need to keep all our players healthy, and the way that the Super League's going, it's priming players if they can stay healthy. The physicality of the games, I think the closeness of the games is going to benefit to us for at the end of the year. But my worry is they're that physical. There's been that many players sent off that we don't get our best players on the field. If we do, we showed 5 years ago that we can compete with these nations. And the likes of Tonga are coming up. Samoa, there's been players leaving New Zealand and going to the home nation. So there's going to be a lot of talent this year. I only have to spend 30 seconds in the company of Sean Wayne to be convinced that we're winning it. Yeah, well, if you see some of the sessions and when the boys come out of them sessions as well, I think I'm with you. I think we've got a massive chance, but Wayne at the helm, he'll definitely dip into that emotional well of exposure that he does, and he'll get stuck into the Aussies. When Wayne Bennett was there, it was a little bit different, but now it's definitely England through and through again.
The gloves are off. Yeah. The gloves are off.
Hendo, you've obviously been involved in World Cups with Scotland. I guess the conversations are different for a side like Scotland coming into it, but it still seems to mean so much to those players involved representing their country, their heritage. Yeah, absolutely. I was very proud, certainly for myself. I was able to represent my father's background, and he was from Glasgow, and all those players, like I said, are predominantly through heritage qualify for these nations like Ireland and Scotland and Wales, because the professional rugby league is not played in those countries, so they haven't got the talent pool to draw from. So, but yeah, look, it is certainly an honour, and you're right, the script is slightly different for those sort of nations. It's about progressing as far as you can. I mean, I know the time when I was with Scotland, we were fortunate to make the quarterfinals of the World Cup in 2013 when it was last over here, and bowed out to New Zealand, who at the time were the current World Cup holders, so there's no disgrace or shame in that, and that was a great achievement for Scotland Rugby League to get to that stage. And again, it's all about trying to gain that further exposure, to try and gain more interest and more, I suppose, sponsorship and people getting involved in the game of rugby league outside of England itself. Well, that is to come at the end of the year, but this weekend the appetite was well and truly whetted, wasn't it, with the Betfred Super League returning, and of course the Championship and the Challenge Cup as well. There were some stellar contenders for Try of the Week, so let's take a look.
Hello and welcome to Try of the Week. I'm Ross Fides and here are this week's contenders. Try number 1, and we're off to the Challenge Cup now, where Hunslet Club Parkside caused a major upset at the home of the London Scholars, and it looks like a try under the post, but he's dragged down by the defence. But what an offload there! It gets out to Al Warri, who crosses over, and the Hunslet side are through to the next round. Try number 2 and Super League is back. We're at Headingley in front of the Channel 4 cameras. Widdop out to Curry to Wrench, who passes out to Ashton on that left wing. Has he got the legs? Well, he's certainly got the speed, and with Widdop in support, he can't go wrong. The pass is timed perfectly, and Widdop is over for the Wolves. Try number 3, and we stick with the Super League. We're at the Jungle now for Castleford versus Salford. Perfect catch from Burgess there, who breaks through the defensive line and gets it out to Sneed. New signing Dion Cross is in support on that left edge, and he can't be stopped. He crashes over for Salford on his Super League debut. Try number 4, and we're over to France for Toulouse versus Huddersfield. Senior setting up his own try here with that nice chip over the top. He collects perfectly and the defence can't stop him. He's over for the Giants. Try number 5, and it's back to the Challenge Cup now for a mudfest at Lock Lane in Castleford. They face Rochdale with Lewis Sheridan fighting off the defence. Nice little dummy, and he crosses over in the final minute of the game. Finally, try number 6 then, and it's up to Workington, who face Brian Mack's in-form Featherstone Rovers. Wildy finds a gap in defence, and the pass is perfectly timed there for Connor Jones to run it in and cross over for the Rovers. 6 tries, but only 1 winner. Head to the R-League app now to vote for your favourite.
Yeah, some great tries there, but just a quick look at some of those kits. I think the real heroes this weekend of the kit men. It was pretty muddy, but we are running out of time. So quickly, gents, I'm going to run through those 6 Super League games again. I want a one-word answer from both of you. Who wins? So let's start off on Thursday night. Warrington versus Castleford kit.
Warrington.
Warrington.
Wigan Leeds, Hendo.
Leeds.
Wigan.
Interesting. Hull FC, St Helens, Hendo.
St Helens.
St Helens.
Huddersfield, Hull KR, Kevin.
Huddersfield.
Hull KR.
Catalans versus Wakefield, Kevin.
Catalans.
Catalans.
And then finishing off, Hendo, Salford versus Toulouse.
Salford.
Toulouse will lose.
Gee, what are you?
We've got a full year of that pun being made. Maybe longer if they stay up. It's going to be a long old season. Gents, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend the last half an hour or so in your company talking rugby league. It is brilliant to have it back, and it's brilliant to be on the Sportsman, the new home of Rugby League Online. And we will be back next Wednesday with more from The Last Tackle.